Hello, everyone. Welcome to Drop Pod. This is episode 10, Solo Dolo. A lot of interesting stuff to talk about. I mean, over the weekend, you had the Jake Paul fight. That ended pretty quickly. I wanted to talk about it because it seemed like a lot of people were giving Jake Paul, and I'm not trying to defend Jake Paul at all, fuck that, but it seemed like a lot of people were out to kind of downplay the fight. I mean, it's impressive because the fight went fast. I also think it's interesting because these are two different mediums. Jake Paul, for those of you that don't really follow that sort of thing, Jake Paul had fought Ben Askren over the weekend. Ben Askren is an Olympian. He fought in MMA. And I think that's where people are kind of mixing this up a little bit. Jake Paul is a boxer, so the rules are different. Ben Askren is used to grappling and just kind of working your opponent down. Boxing I kind of feel like a lot of people don't really understand the difference between boxing and just MMA. You know, it's kind of like comparing chess to checkers. And I'm not trying to downplay either. Both have their place and both know, how one can play out differently to the other. But I was seeing the memes over the weekend, and though they were funny, it seemed kind of messed up because Jake Paul, I mean, he did well, right? Both of these fights, he had fought two different opponents. One, a pretty topical athlete who played for the Chicago Bulls, a basketball player. The other, an actual MMA fighter. And you kind of have to give him props. I mean, he fought well. That's the only thing. People weren't expecting a YouTuber to fight like that, and then a YouTuber fights like that. So I don't know. It goes to show that people can actually do things outside of videos. I don't know. I looked at some tweets before the show because I just wanted to see what people were really thinking, and I wanted to find some people that were on the other side of the spectrum that weren't just going, oh, how the fuck could you lose to Jake Paul? You're gonna lose to Jakey boy? On the day of my daughter's wedding? Are you sure? But Stephen A. Smith, who was a columnist / reporter for ESPN, he had said, this has to stop. Jake Paul is not some scrub. He's a pro now. Askren, even though he's a UFC fighter, is a grappler, not a boxer. So why was he even in the damn ring? From now on, Paul needs to fight an actual boxer. He's going to hurt any non-boxer, which I think that's a little bit too far, but he does have a point. I just got done saying, this is chess to checkers. These two are totally different events, and you have one area where it's strategic, and the goal is to try to score as many points, withering down your opponent as best as you can. The other, you're trying to play it pretty fast-paced. Get in there, get your points, stay as healthy as you possibly can while making the other guys super tired. It's just a weird little thing. I mean, I know people just want to kind of see Jake Paul fall. I mean, I didn't think much was going to come of this. I thought, okay, he's going up against an actual dude. But I mean, we've seen it before, right? Floyd Mayweather versus McGregor. McGregor wasn't equipped. Boxing versus UFC. This is twice I have seen the showdown like this in recent years. And both times, it just seems like a MMA fighter doesn't do well in the environment because they are prepped for a different sort of venue. They're not used to just having to keep their stamina, reserve it. But Let me know what you guys think. If you had watched this fight, or if you were just keeping tabs on the fight, let me know what you guys think. I it's just funny. It's very funny to me. It's very funny that a lot of people got mad at Ben for losing. But then the memes that came out, and I mean, they were just torching this poor boy. But like I say, let me know what you guys think. Welcome, dear listeners. Over the weekend, I had participated in the League launch to Path of Exile's 3.14 update Ultimatum. I think this was one of the worst update launches I have ever seen for a video game in a long while. And I mean that. We had a very bad launch this year. In fact, in the same month, with Outriders. Outriders did not launch very well. I mean, this game could not win in the first week of its launch. You had people just not being able to play, period. Servers were down for an exorbitant amount of time. It was no different with PoE. As you guys know, I'm a huge ARPG fan, so I play Path of Exile. The thing is, I was looking forward to this update for a while, and the game is performing really well now. You can get into the game now as of this recording. But the launch of that was handled very poorly, and I kind of want to give my thoughts on what had went down. You had Grinding Gear Games, who is the developer of PoE. They had paid streamers like Shroud, Asmon, Gold, some top tier guys, money to play this game for 2 hours. So that meant they got to skip queue times, which I'll get to later. But they got to skip the queue times of just waiting there in the queue. You had your main, your core streamers like Zizarin, who's one of the Twitch ambassadors, one of the bigger names on the platform. They also got a queue skip. The problem with this is that throughout the day of the launch, I had, it was on Friday, I had woken up early just so I could play the launch of this. Was it on Friday? Was it Thursday? Can't keep track anymore. I think it was Friday. We're going to go Friday. Going to get a fact check later, I'm pretty sure. Woken up pretty early on Friday. I was watching Zizarin most of the morning as he was talking about just early leveling, tips, mechanics, things to expect. What he was going to be doing, running thoughts on the current league. Something that you're supposed to be doing at the start of a PoE league, or before the league even starts, excuse me, is that it would be wise to log in to secure a spot in the queue. And you want to do that the moment the servers can even go up. Try to reserve your place in the queue. I had gotten into the queue at 20k, and that was logging in immediately as best as I could, or sorry, as fast as I could. There was no real problems. At least I didn't think so. But then I had went back to Zizarin's stream, because usually when you're 20k, you should be in the game in about 5 minutes, I would say. Ziz had been in the queue at maybe it was like 1,100. So he would have been in the game instantaneously. But something happened that looked pretty weird to the untrained eye. And if this was your first league inside of Path of Exile, you probably wouldn't have known what was going on here. But what we were seeing was that the queue was not moving, and it was going super slow. At the time Ziz got in, everything was fine for a little bit, until you started looking at the chat. And I mean, the chat was beaming this poor boy for just doing what he did, which is ethically queue for his spot to play in the game. And everyone was saying that, oh, this is streamer priority, streamer this, he's only in because he's a streamer. Zizarin had logged into the game completely fair. It was a completely ethical queue. But then Zizarin tried to load into a zone and had gotten disconnected from the game. When Zizarin had logged back in, instead of being placed in a queue, he was instantaneously brought back into the game. And so that's when Zizarin knew that there was something up, because I didn't even believe it. It's like that, the dumbest move. The dumbest move in a game like Path of Exile, where trading with other players is integral to the life cycle of a league. A league lasts 3 months. If you have streamers that play this game, 14 hours a day, and they're going to dictate the pricing on items throughout the league, that is a huge boon to people that know what the hell they're doing, and that they're just going to get rich before everybody else. And the whole point of a league starts is that you're racing to see who can get to the end and who can do this the first time, and you just keep going at it like that, trying to get all of these different places in the league's ladder at once. It didn't help that a lot of folks couldn't get in, and by the time I had gotten in, I had disconnected, I think like 10 minutes into my run. I had played with Peekaboo, or Steven, in the Discord, co-owner of Helljump Beast. Shoutouts to Steven. He was playing this launch with me throughout the weekend. I was pretty appalled, and he was too. These disconnects happen frequently, and you would get disconnected from the game. You would have to log back in. Sometimes it wouldn't even allow you to log in, so you'd have to close the game, come back in, and you would be in a pretty high queue. And these queues were not even going. Sometimes it would. Sometimes it wouldn't. And you would just sit there until the queue started flushing and you were able to get through. And the queues were very frequent. It was an all-day adventure. It was to the point where GGG did not know what was going on. And some of you might be going, well, if it was bad, how come they didn't just shut down the server? Well, that's a tricky thing. GGG doesn't know what's going on. All of their internal testing, they weren't having any problems logging in and just playing the game. But the players are. So what they figured was, let's keep seeing how this plays out, and let's try to collect data as the streamers and people that are playing the game are playing. We can find out a little bit more about what's going on and what's happening here. This situation would not get solved until 0300 the next morning. So by Saturday, things had cleared up. The game was actually performing as it should, and people were able to play. But back to streamer priority. Like I said, one of the dumbest things that could have happened there, or one of the dumbest things that GGG could have done, and that's why a lot of us thought that there's no way that's real. It's just people complaining that, oh, they had to wait. Well, Ziz was smart and managed to get into the queue early. What was dumb was they decided that they would give streamers the queue priority, meaning they did not have to wait in these queue lines. If they were 20,000 in the queue, they would just jump straight into the game. And GGG's reasoning behind that was they thought, oh, well, people need something to watch while they're waiting to get in, because, I mean, we don't know what's happening with these queues, so at least we can get people amped to get ready to play this game. Meanwhile, you had people flaming these streamers, and it was abhorrent. This is the most toxic I've seen this community. But at the same time, they are completely within their right to be upset. some people, took off work. Some people were, very amped. They had set time aside to play this launch, and they got absolutely screwed. So they are completely within their rights, even though a lot of people were being assholes about it. I mean, it sucks. There's not much the streamer can do about that. For some streamers, it's not as easy as just contacting the developer of the game and hoping that they, say, hey, can you not have me in this queue system? Because all it's doing for me is getting me flamed for just playing the game, and I'm not the developer here. This is on you. I think GGG handled that extremely, extremely badly, and we wouldn't get an answer until I think it was like 2,300 hours, where Bex, the community manager, would come out and say, so we're about to write up a lengthy post about what's going on. And in this post, Chris Wilson, the lead developer at GGG, he would come out and say, yeah, so we paid these streamers. Not the core streamers, but the streamers I had mentioned previously, Asmon Gold. We paid these guys to play this game for 2 hours. We did not expect the servers to be in such a bad state. At this time, when this post had came out, we still are very unsure of what happened, but they were about to deploy a fix that they think would work. And it did. But they had paid these guys for 2 hours of gameplay, and they couldn't even play, which is not good. These things never really tend to work, but it does work in at least getting players to your game. The streamer is more than likely going to leave the game, especially because you paid them out of pocket. This was not something that they really wanted to do, but you shelled out money and said, hey, just play the game. And it picks up some noise when you have a guy like Shroud, play some Path of Exile for a bit. But the queue priority was more meant for them, these non-core streamers. And by core streamers, I mean the people that are playing your game. These are the people that are making content around the game, whether it's in the form of YouTube videos or they're just streaming. These are people that are known for playing your game for many, many hours. So it was very bad that you gave these guys this queue priority, as we're calling it. And they said going forward that they were not going to do that anymore. So it's just weird, because I've never heard of this before. We've heard of things like, oh, you're a streamer, so this is the reason why this item dropped. This wasn't just based around, oh, I was very lucky when this had occurred. This had everything to do with you're a streamer. The devs were watching you. They dropped this item. That way they could spark up some noise. So a lot of tinfoil conspiracies going on about this. And it doesn't bode well for GGG, of course. The game is doing better now. I do want to say that. The game is doing better now. As of this podcast recording, this is doing pretty well. If you're into PoE and you saw the launch, give it a try. If you haven't played PoE, go play it. It's free. I vouch for it. The league mechanic is fun. The game itself and the launch itself was it could have went better, but now that it's ironed out and people are just playing it, the league is pretty fun. Some things that I've noticed is that it is way too easy to garner the currency items through the league mechanic. And it's going to be interesting how they kind of iron that portion out, because you can really just skirt the whole trading away, because a lot of the good gear that you can get can come from this league mechanic, and you can run this very early in the game, literally at level 1, and you can just keep doing this league mechanic all the way into the end game, and you're just getting the best possible gear for your character at that point in time through this league mechanic. And it never used to be like that. You would have to trade or craft your items. But with this league mechanic, you fight in an arena for a little bit, and you fight in the arena, you get a reward. And you can continue to fight in the arena until you reach the end, and then that's it. And you got the best reward you can possibly get from that. And then you just go to the next map and do the arena again. Something I do want to say before I close out of PoE is just don't give the developers a bad time. I see this all over the shop. I mean, it happens in Destiny a lot. You'll see some stalwart champion of the entire community, and he'll go on the developer's Twitter page and we'll just call him out and say, "Oh, I am never spending another dime on this video game, sir. This game is abhorrent, and I will no longer be purchasing a single item. Good day to you, sir." And I see this and I go, what do you think is going to happen from this? You went on the developer's page and decided to flip them off for no reason, for being a human being. And it's just weird. It's weird. You see this happen constantly. I mean, I know some of you might have a favorite game out there. You might follow some of your favorite dev, or even dev team for that matter. And you'll see somebody tweet at them and it's just awful. You know, I follow Path of Exile. I follow Destiny on Twitter just so I can see updates and things like the weekly blog posts. I want to make sure that I'm around for that when that occurs, so I follow their Twitters. It's weird when I see somebody that expects some sort of reward because the dev team was having a bad time. And I had talked about this with Mala a couple of episodes ago. But they don't owe you shit. Sorry to say. The devs don't owe you anything. You logged in. You played their game. You do not get a pass. It happens. Bad launches can happen. Bad things can happen. You don't get a reward for others' misfortune. Sorry to say. Just please be a good person. Do not. I really don't want to see anybody within my own community target, harass, just generally be a bully to developers just doing what they're trying to do. It sucks enough as it is. It doesn't look good on GGG for the way that launch went down, but it definitely doesn't look good on the community when I am seeing a guy harass somebody that's working on the game that you play so much that you felt the need to go to the Twitter page of somebody that is developing this game and you start harassing them. That is not good. Stop it. That's all. Out of everything that happened, I was appalled by what I had seen from the community, harassing these streamers, calling them out, calling them some horrible things for just being in the game before they were. And it's just an awful thing to see. So please, just don't. I wanted to talk about Drop Pod 9A a little bit. Speaking of Destiny, I am sorry to folks that are in the Helljumpers community that don't really play Destiny. I didn't expect us to go on a tangent. It was refreshing to have two people that actually play the video game and just kind of understand the motives and stuff that I mentioned. So that went on to just being the Destiny episode, and it wasn't really the intent, but I appreciate both Gakers and Daniel for coming out and doing the episode. Shout outs to both of you. My plan with Drop Pod is to just have people that are in the Helljumpers to kind of just jump in and kind of just share their thoughts with me and just kind of chit chat for a little bit. I still have some more interesting folks from Helljumpers to come on. Can't share that with you right now, but later. That's going to be a good one. So I just want to apologize for those of you that don't really follow Hell Jumpers or even Drop Pod for Destiny type of chat. It might happen again. Maybe I'll have like a disclaimer or something. 9A is something that won't be happening often, or at least a type of episode like that. I only put that episode out because I was lazy throughout the month of April, and I needed to get back on the horse. Consistency in that. So I want to thank everybody for just, cheering me on, especially that are in the Discord. I appreciate it heavily. I don't really get any flack from anybody, and that's good. Somebody that lives without want, and as long as I'm just able to pay what I have to pay, I have enough to eat, I'm just content with that. So I really appreciate that, everybody. Thank you. I had gotten some messages, and I wasn't sure if I was going to talk about this during this episode. It's episode 10, and I thought it would be fitting just to have this as a solo episode anyway, but I really wasn't sure if I was even going to, bring this up. I had originally wanted to be a psychologist when I was in middle school up until, I guess, junior year of high school, when I kind of just flipped the script and said, you know what, nah, I don't really care. But some people have been, and I guess it kind of just comes with the territory. I mean, COVID, you're trapped. You're in a cage of your own, basically, throughout the entire year. And with that, you have to kind of just deal with yourself, right? But a lot of people in the Discord, I will not call out anybody. I don't want people on a witch hunt. If I find out, you know who you are. If I find out that you are trying to track down these people, I just know that I don't appreciate that. But a lot of people were saying that they were pretty sad, especially a lot of my, I probably shouldn't say, but a lot of people were sad. And the only thing I can really offer, I can't help too much. I'm somebody that plays video games day in, day out. But something I wanted to mention was make sure that you are make sure you're in your own corner. If there's anything that I can really offer, make sure you're backing yourself, especially in these times where you're literally just in your own way right now. You are stuck where you are. These are the circumstances we have to live with. Some of you guys are able to roam free. I know a lot of schools are opening back up, thank God. I know a lot of people are getting back to their own way of life. Some of you are still in quarantine right now. And a lot of you are getting sad. There's not much going on. Stay positive. Just be in your own corner first and foremost. I really cannot stress that enough. That is something very important. And I don't know what depression really is, and because everybody goes through their own bouts. But if you are going through something, it is important that you at least admit that to yourself first and foremost. Because it starts at a base level, right? You got to want to help yourself, but you also have to admit that to yourself that am I happy right now or am I sad right now? Just make sure that you are getting the help that you need. There are a lot of outlets, a lot of resources out there that will help you if you give it the chance that it deserves. And that's all. I appreciate that people come to me when they are in these bouts with themselves, but I just play video games. Again, I live without want. Make sure that if you are in this boat where you feel you are at odds, especially with yourself, that stay positive. Be your own friend, first and foremost. Be in your own corner. And seek help where help is needed. And that's all I can really say on that. I feel bad because there's not much I can really offer. I appreciate that people do come to me again, but and I just feel bad that I can't really do anything about, your situation in particular. So, dear listener, just practice that. And that's all I really want to say on that. I want to steer clear of that for the remainder of the episode, but I hope that I at least offered something there, and that's all. Over the quarantine, and I guess this is more of a reflection type of thing, over the quarantine, I had smacked my desk pretty hard right there. I got furloughed from my warehouse. I was a floor lead at a warehouse that was right next to Nellis Air Force Base. And we shipped things off to the Air Force Base itself, plus some stores around the Las Vegas Valley. And it was a pretty good gig, I suppose, but I felt like I wasn't really applying myself there. It gave me a huge chance to just focus on my schoolwork, which I'm grateful for because I was not getting that actually I was. No, that's not fair. That's not a fair thing to say. I was going to say I was not really getting that at Tommy Hilfiger, but I was. I had like 8 days off in a row. It wasn't that bad, but I would get fair bits of days off until they actually were underhand and they were like, "Hey, Armand, do you want to come in?" And I would go, "No." But there was that stint, and then going into the warehouse gig, it allowed me even further to kind of focus on schoolwork because everything there was laxed. I had started. God, I hate how I have to talk about these lame jobs, but I had started there. And it was just like these two dudes that had moved from Cleveland and started a warehouse here. Or the branch had branched out to Vegas. They had warehouses all over, aside from the more western side of the states. So they started branching that out. They had these two guys move out all the way to Vegas, where they gave them their own warehouse, and that was that. One was the GM, one was a lead. I would eventually get to his position. And it started where there was absolutely nothing in the warehouse. I mean, nothing. It was just a big empty lot, and that was all it was. I would sit there and do absolutely nothing but be on my phone for about 2 months. And this was agonizing because I felt like I wasn't doing anything. Literally nothing. It got to the point where I would literally bring... Hell, I don't even use it anymore, but I would bring my laptop just so I could listen to lectures that I had missed. And a lot of my... You guys will come to find out, but a lot of my courses were online, obviously. But I would sit there, not a thing to do but be on my phone. The manager would come out into the big empty lot of the warehouse and see me just on my phone, and I would just go, "What's up?" And then that would be that. He really couldn't say anything. It's like, "Did you want to do any work?" And I would always be upfront about it. It's like, "Is there any work to do?" And I mean, he kind of respected it after a while because I would watch both of these guys sit on their phone. If you're seeing your manager not give a shit, you only follow suit. That's a bad hand, but you got to play the hand you're dealt. In these situations, I would sit there, not do a damn thing the entire day. I would just go, what the fuck am I doing right now? Excuse my language, but it was literally that. I went from being a manager to DirecTV, Fortune 500 company, to getting paid peanuts at Tommy Hilfiger, to making some pretty good money at a warehouse, but I wasn't doing anything, like literally nothing. It would take 2 months for there to be anything within the warehouse. I still wasn't doing anything as all of this stuff was getting put together. And I would meet a lot of people that would fly out from the company. They would fly out, see how the warehouse is doing. I would get along with everybody that would come over here. You fast forward to 2020, and there was still not really much to do. I mean, I had worked at that place for almost a full year at that point. And it basically ended with me. I was managing the warehouse while the actual GM of the place was gone. So that left me to run the place. The other lead went back to Ohio to work back at that branch for a bit. So that left literally me to kind of run things. And I would have to deal with some temps over this time. And just generally just make sure that the temps are doing what they need to do throughout the day. And it just went back to same old, same old. I would just sit there. I'm on the computer because I have to type out emails. Hey, did this thing get shipped out? Hey, you guys had delivered this to us, and it seemed like there was a little problem here because we didn't get certain orders of this and this. You know how it goes. I'm only bringing this up because it's kind of crazy how, your situation can change in an instant. And when COVID had actually started, I hope that a lot of you out there had took that time to kind of just apply yourself and just find out what you actually want to do, especially if you got, laid off or you got furloughed or whatever happened to you. I hope you took that time to go, okay, so with all this time ahead of me right now, is there anything I actually want to do right now? A lot of my friends took time to actually get back into school, especially since here at Vegas, a lot of our stuff was online at that point. Still is. I'm going to continue to just do the online thing like I have been. My courses are very lax. I'm kind of taking a break at the moment, but and I punched my desk again. Ow. But I just wanted to bring that up because it's, it really is crazy. Play the hand you're dealt. You got to continue to do so. It's not like you can just stop. But, since COVID began, I've been doing things that I actually wanted to do, like Drop Pod. And I just want to thank people for kind of sticking through this. So, there's that. I didn't expect to really talk about it in any depth, but I feel like it is important that, especially with Drop Pod, people kind of know who the hell they're listening to, I suppose. As a host, I feel it would be good if you guys knew a little thing about me. And I hope that if I had imparted anything on you, it's that, again, just make sure you are being your own friend. I think that's really important. If you can't do that for yourself, you're going to have a bad time. I promise. And I can't claim to know that I know what people are going through because everybody's situation is different. I live life by a very simple rule. And that's there is somebody out there right now, currently, same time, different location altogether, that is going through something a lot worse than I am. And if the worst thing I had to deal with all day was that I let the milk go bad or somebody had called me a nasty name, then I am blessed. I really am. I suppose that this episode is pretty short. I just wanted to clear that up. I appreciate everybody's kind messages as always. I feel bad because I'm not big at all. I'm really not. And I feel bad when I miss somebody's like request, especially if I'm live streaming and I go back and I'll look through the comments, especially on Facebook, and I'll see somebody had either messaged me or had commented on the stream directly, and they had asked, "Hey, could you shout out my sister? Could you shout out somebody?" Da da da. And I didn't do that, and I feel really bad. So, it sucks. I'm sorry. I will get better at it. These things get better as they age, right? Thank you, everybody, so much for tuning in, and I hope that there are many more episodes of Drop Pod to go. I'm getting better with my uploads again. I'm staying consistent. It's a rocky road at the moment, especially as because I had moved. I'm just making sure everything's good here. I don't like plugging. I hate that, but here it goes. Catch me at twitch.tv/aegis_CXVII. I stream stuff. We're about to have a YouTube horror night. It's going to go down live. It's going to be dope. Get you one at Twitch when I go live on there. Some pretty cool episodes of Drop Pod to come soon. Like I'm really excited to have a certain guest on. I hope that they are prepared. I'm not going to give them an option of whether or not they want to do this. I'm telling them they have to. Stick around, stay tuned, and please stay safe, everybody.